just having the freedom to be more part of our family and call your own shots, choose your own destiny.
I love bookkeeping.
Welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping Show. I am your host, Ben Robinson, and with me today, I've got a really cool guy, someone that I've had the pleasure to meet, and we'll get to meet here in a couple of weeks. He is the principal of Beside the Point Bookkeeping and Consulting. He's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Go Badgers, Party School. He also, if that wasn't enough, has a master's in accounting, financial management. He lives in Wisconsin. He has 2 boys, and he is married. Welcome to the show, Jeremy Van Groll.
Thank you, Ben. I am honored to be here with you today. And as always, look forward to some of your sage-like advice.
Well, let's wait till this is over before you render judgment on that. You set the bar kind of high for me. I like to set it below.
Oh, great.
And an interesting tidbit, everybody, about Jeremy. He is actually going to sing this episode because he came as a finalist on his honeymoon at the karaoke contest on the boat. And this wasn't a boat with 3 people on it. This was a boat with probably 3,000 people on it, I assume. Is that correct?
That was correct. It was a large cruise atmosphere, and I like to dabble in singing and got picked to be a finalist, so it was fun.
Oh, no alcohol involved in this, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, good. So who would be your musical inspiration? Like, who is if you could have one voice of...
Ooh, I would go, I'm a fan of Eddie Vedder.
Yes! That's the correct answer.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
You don't get many baritones like that.
That's right. Right. And just the range and breadth of his work, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I listen to, I promise we will get to bookkeeping stuff here in just a second, but there is the Unplugged that they did in 1992 on MTV where it's acoustic.
Yeah.
And that is, to listen to them live is 100% better than to listen to them recorded. So anybody who is that fan, go on to YouTube and watch that. It's only like 36 minutes. But okay, I think we need to talk about some stuff here that relates to our bookkeeping profession. So I always ask this of my guests, and thank you again for being on here. But why in the world did you start a bookkeeping business? What was going through your head?
Yeah, I think one of my many downfalls is it kind of was on a whim. I was sitting, and it was the end of 2016, I believe, and I always take a couple weeks between Christmas and New Year's off, and I was thinking around on online, and I'm pretty sure a BBL ad came up, and I thought, I've always considered myself to be somewhat entrepreneurial. So that came up, and it said, and also a financial mind that, low minimum investment and, a great return for your time and own your own destiny, and all that stuff sounded really cool to me. So looked through some of the material for introducing the course for Bookkeeper Launch, and just thought, let's try it. I talked to my wife and got her opinion too, and said, hey, I'm going to take a little bit of money and invest it in this and see what I can do, and really had it as a long range goal for me to have a kind of side hustle, side income relationship.
Okay. So you were looking initially to have a side hustle.
Yep.
If you were going to encapsulate why you did this in one word, what would that be?
Family. I want to be more, maybe family and freedom. That's 2 words, but just having the freedom to be more part of our family and call your own shots, choose your own destiny.
Okay. Well, we can call it famdom. That's a combination of family and freedom. So famdom,
Sure.
Trademark. I got that. That's mine.
Right. TM.
Famdom. So no, and pretty much everybody that we speak with here, that's the word, because we don't want to be told what to do, because we're hard-headed, but because, we have freedom. But so there's a lot of different ways in which you can do that. A lot of different flavors. If we think of getting freedom, there's, many flavors of ice cream, and there are many ways to get freedom. Why the bookkeeping profession for you?
Yeah, I guess I've always been a numbers guy, going back since out of college forward. I like being that one source of truth for like that one counsel for making good decision making by business owners. So to me, it made sense. Like here in the bookkeeping realm, you're kind of owning the information and all about telling the right story to get people to make sound business decisions that can move them forward or make the situation go as best possible.
Okay. So you're a number nerd,
Number nerd,
and
totally.
I got that. I understand that for sure. So that's why you chose bookkeeping, kind of had a background in it too, right?
Yeah.
Now let's kind of fast forward, and then I want to fill in the gaps in between
Okay.
that fateful night in December of 2016. So where are you today? How many clients do you serve?
Right now, I've just got my 8th client on with 3 other ones kind of waiting in the wings that I'm wooing a little bit, and I hopefully they're wooing me a little bit too. So yeah, have 8 of them. 1 or 2 of those were just cleanup jobs, so probably 6 that are monthly billing that I work on consistently.
Okay, and you say work on consistently because I know something else about you. This isn't your full-time gig, right? So you also kind of fill me in on that. What do you do in your spare time?
Spare time, air quotes. Yeah. So I am still fully employed, and I think to myself about my earlier comment about freedom, as I kind of went the wrong way on that with the current state. But I'm a financial manager at a publicly traded manufacturing firm here in Wisconsin. So it's a lot of the same role around data management, reporting, financial analysis, and things like that. So that is my I guess full time gig right now, but definitely not my passion at this point.
I got you. Okay, so a full-time gig, a side hustle, 2 children, and a spouse, and then, like you said, quote airtime, right? There is
Free
or
time,
free time.
right?
There is no such thing.
Right.
So I commend you for that, right? And knowing and being in your shoes at one point in my life, several times in my life, actually, I know how I know the struggle is real. And, we always say it's a short term sacrifice for a lifetime of benefit. But,
Right.
it is a struggle. And we want everybody to know out there that, hey, starting a bookkeeping business is not easy. If anybody tells you that or any business is easy, it ain't.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about that, right? I want to kind of, the challenge that we're going to talk about today kind of feeds off the future here. I want to kind of go back and fill in. So
Yeah.
you have 8 clients. You went through Bookkeeper Business Launch, but it's not like we don't provide you with clients in there. So how in
No.
the world did you go about getting those 8 clients? What was your process?
Yeah, and again, some of it is probably motivation on my part, and some of it is time commitment too. But I was pretty passive, and still am currently in my marketing aspect. So if you think about the first client that I received is a large local nonprofit um, that was referred to me from a former uh, coworker of mine in a different job, who said that was on the board for this nonprofit and said, "Oh God, their bookkeeping is rough. If you got time and want to get involved, I would love to have you on." So it really took me from the end of December 16 until little after middle of 17 to get that first client. But I wasn't actively marketing, but I was trying to build my network as well. So that was where I got the first one. And that one was interesting because I had to dive in kind of face first on nonprofit accounting and restricted funds management and grant reporting, and it definitely wasn't dipping a toe. It was here's a big client, go and do it and figure it out. But how much that pushed me and how much I've learned from that is invaluable. So that was the first one.
All right. And so that was through Yakety Yak, right? Talking to your network and telling
Yeah.
people you started,
Right. Yep.
which by and large is the way that most people get their very first client. When we talk about that in Bookkeeper Business Launch, Yakety Yak, which is basically, hey, I'm Jeremy. You already know, like, and trust me, and I'm starting a bookkeeping business. That's it.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. So that was the first client. What about the other ones that you've gotten? What's been your strategy there?
It's been mostly yakety yak, really. I am part of a couple formal networking groups that have helped, where I've been able to present my business and my passion, and have some feelers out there for me, try to drum up business or at least communicate what I do. Um, Having a presence on LinkedIn, that has helped get 1 or 2 of them. I have ran a couple Craigslist ads that I don't think have panned out, but I have seen other people that have posted for a bookkeeper, and I've responded to that and kind of started the conversation. And 2 of my current clients came from that, where they were posting for bookkeeping help, and I responded, and we connected and figured that we had a really talked the same language. It was a good partnership, and I went forward with them that way. And then beyond that, too, I've had a couple speaking engagements. Again, yakety yak. I just did one recently at a dance studio that was doing a women's empowerment course. That over 6 weeks they did this amazing schedule that they had like fitness, and then they had nutrition, and one of the weeks was financial guidance and advice. And they asked me to come in and speak on that. And right out of that one, I just got a client that I signed on last week that I'm working with now.
Oh man, that's tremendous. That's good. So it's kind of a little bit. So how much have you spent on advertising to get these 8 clients?
One of my networking group does have a entry fee that's like $500-$600. Outside of that, a couple $5 Craigslist ads, and then that's it. Really, very minimal.
So $600-$700, and you've gotten 8 clients, which I know they're very valuable to you.
Yeah.
That's good. That's one of the things that, kind of going back to what you saw in our ad was talking about low startup costs and low ongoing costs. That's a great thing. But that typically means that we're putting in something called sweat equity. All right. There's a couple of ways we can put equity in, dollars and cents, and then also time. So let's talk about time. When did you find time to do this? I mean, because you could be in your situation where you have a full-time job, or you could be in somebody else's where they're a full-time mom and trying to, how did you juggle everything?
That's a great question. I won't even think it's how do I? It's not hard. Thankfully, in my current full-time job, it is an office environment, and I was while they are not aware that I have this side gig or my bookkeeping business right now, I made it completely apparent when I took the current role that I'm in that flexibility to me is the most important part of the role. So there'll be times like right now where I'm in the office in a conference room and we're having this conversation in the middle of the day, that I'm doing some bookkeeping things during normal office hours, but also we're a global company, so it's not rare for me to have to jump on a call at 5 o'clock in the morning my time to talk to Europe about something, or 11 o'clock at night to talk to Asia about something. So that has given me a little bit of a leg up to be able to handle both pieces, but it's still tough. So I try to make for my schedule when I get home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon until my 2 boys go to bed at about 8. That's sacred to me, and I keep that whole. But then after they go to bed, you log back on, and some nights it's a couple hours. Some nights, the other night it was 2 in the morning because I had stuff I had to get done and get out and make sure I delivered. So it's really wherever you can.
So no time for Netflix.
No time for Netflix. No, I'm so far behind on like Walking Dead and all the good ones, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times people tell me, Ben, I just don't know where to find a time. And when I start diving in and I find out that they're watching Netflix a couple of hours a day, not that there's anything bad inherently with watching Netflix, but sometimes we have to make these sacrifices. Not sometimes, all the times. If we want something that's better, if we want a life that's different, we're going to have to put in sweat equity. It's not going to be given to us.
Right.
Go ahead.
I totally agree. And, even some of the nights where I work, I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring my spouse either. So there are nights where I just sit in bed and have like a ergonomic mouse where I'm just sitting there and we're chatting, and maybe she's watching Netflix, but try to have that balance that I'm not ignoring that piece of my life either. So yeah, it's tough, but we'll work out in the end. I know that now.
Okay. I want to come back to that here in just a second. Speaking about your spouse, what's her name again?
Katie.
Katie. Okay. I hate to use her. I like to use absolutely people's names. So Katie. I would like to chat with Katie. Not with her, but about her. All right. So time was a hurdle that you faced. So one of the things that you had to do is be very disciplined with your time. That's what I'm hearing from you. And you still have to be disciplined. And the more clients that you bring on and have these other responsibilities, the more that becomes critical to your success. Let's talk about other challenges that you faced. Can you think of, other than the time commitment, what are other challenges that you faced to go from 0 to 8 clients today?
I think I just listened to your pod, the show that you had with Ben Day, and I still think I'm not in that phase where I'm still wooing clients more than I'm being wooed. So jumping through hoops and what's something that is really, that's been your advice that's worked out well, is giving that value on the front end even before you're making money, but that takes a time commitment to do that. So finding the things to do to make those things happen is a lot. Just finding times in the day to actually meet with people. So I would say of my 6 regular clients right now, all but one of them are local. So it's something that I do meet with them, not regularly. A lot of times it's Zoom or a Zoom meeting, or but I would say maybe once a month when we get statements, we'll get coffee and we'll talk. But so that, just finding the time for that too, and the effort that it takes into that, and just getting to know them personally, has been a challenge. But as we talked about, and you've talked about a lot too, I am completely in agreement that this is a relationship first business. And I think that's where I can set myself apart from other people. So doing that and putting that effort has been tough, but again, rewarding.
Would you consider yourself to be introverted or extroverted?
Katie would tell you I'm an extrovert, but I really am an introvert. I really think so. I've gotten 100 times better with my introvertness since starting this business, because you have to be. Like you talked about, feel the fear and do it anyway. You just got to go out there and put yourself out. And the challenge to me really is getting to that deep conversation. You can start with your weather comments and everything else, just starting the introduction with people. But just find something that you can dig into that people are passionate about, and it goes to that next level so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So needless to say, if you had an hour conversation with the 6 clients that you have back to back to back to all 6 in a row, at the end of the day, how would you feel?
Oh, just wiped. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, after
That's an
the
introvert.
first one, yeah. And you get, as you said, you get those clients that you just love to hear from. And I just got one, a text from my first one this morning, the nonprofit, who I just love. Like, anytime I get from them, and there's so much work, and I'm probably totally undervaluing my services with them right now. But every time it comes up, I just smile. Like, she sent me a text this morning that they have credit card reward points on their credit card. She's like, oh, what should I get? And sent me all these things that she may get as for rewards for her employees, and how am I going to handle this? But it was just a great conversation to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just like you. After I record this podcast, I'm wiped, and I usually do 2 in a row, and it just wipes me out, which is the mark of an introvert. Which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you can't be outgoing. Outgoing and introvert have nothing to do together. Extrovert and outgoing have nothing. The extrovert, at the end of that 6 hours of meeting with people back to back, would be energized, where you and I want to go sit in a corner and suck our thumb and tell everybody to go away. We turn into Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever watched that show, but I was actually watching one last night, and the John Arquette, I think it is. He graduated University of Wisconsin. He's like, go Badgers. And Leslie Knope went to Indiana, and he throws the date off. Anyway, all right. I digress. People who listen to this show, you got to know that we do not stay on point. Squirrel.
Right. That's right.
All right. So here you are today, and let's kind of transition over to where you want to be in the future. But I want to back up to one thing I said or asked you just a minute ago about Katie.
Yeah.
When you started this, you said that, hey, I went to my wife and we chatted about this, and it sounds like you guys make decisions together, which is awesome. How was she? Was she supportive of your decision to start this? What was her feelings?
She totally was. And in retrospect, maybe I sold it wrong, but you don't know what you don't know then. But I said, I think this is something that will be a great side gig income for me. That's going to be a challenge. Investment is minimal in the grand scheme of things, but something that can help me accelerate my timeline to retiring and being away from the family more, or the day-to-day grind. But she was very supportive on it. She said, yep, go with it, and still is very supportive. And I think too proud of me overall in the aspect of things.
That's wonderful. There is no substitute for having if you have a spouse, for them to be supportive of it. It's a requirement, in my opinion. Right. Don't leave home without it. Don't start this business without that. If you have somebody that's telling you that you shouldn't do it, as long as it's in a healthy way and not condemning, then you should definitely listen to that person. We'll come back to that again too, but let's talk about the future. All right. So we kind of gotten up to where we are today. Where do you see this business in 5 years?
So, what my vision for an ideal state of the business in 5 years is for me to really be the face of the business and out of the day to day as much as possible. So, where I get jazzed and have the passion is taking that report and information, and the financial reports and whatever schedules that I can have to bolster that, and putting it in front of the business owner and saying, here's what I see. Here's a question you had. Here's something we did in the last audit or the last time you had a board meeting that raised eyebrows or people had confusion about. Here, look at this information. What do you think? And just love it when those that audience goes, wow, this is amazing, and this is the insight that I've really been looking for, or hey, can we tweak this and think of one other thing. I really want to be that one that is the face of the organization providing the value, and have some people on staff that are doing the day-to-day things, making sure the accounting's right, because I need to make sure that the information I have is accurate to be able to have that good source of truth for the end user or business owner. So I hope to have a couple people doing the day-to-day, myself really looking at being the face of the organization with the business owners. I would love to get more involved with the personal financial side or the money guide side, with individuals that need help. Having worked in corporate America for my entire career, having working with nonprofits and small business owners is a huge breath of fresh air and something that I really enjoy.
Okay. All right. So let's back up on this, because you told me kind of
Okay.
what you want to be in your business, but let's talk about what your business is actually going to do for your life, because
Oh, okay.
we got to build our business around our life and not vice versa, which is what most of us do, including me, until I kind of figured it out. But it's a constant struggle. But let's talk about what the business is going to be doing for your life, for you, for Katie, for your two boys. What
Yeah.
what will it do? What will it provide? How will it bolster the life that you want to lead? And what is that life?
Yeah. Um, I really want it to provide for us as a family, both financially and as a way for me to be as connected as possible with all of them. So again, you get back to the time aspect and the freedom there, to that, if there's a field trip, that I'm there. If there's, going a long ways down the road when they have their own kids, yep, I can close my computer down because I can finish that client later, and I can be there for my kids when they need things. I think that's really what I'm looking for, to drive that lifestyle.
Okay. One of the things that I would advise that you do is to get really, really clear on what this business is going to do for your life. And a great exercise is for you and Katie to do this together.
Okay.
Perhaps you do it separate and then come together.
Sure.
But really, I think that having buy-in, and not from a manipulative sort of way, which is hard to say this morning for some reason, but from that perspective, it's really just from a collaboration and having ownership. Because when we own our own business, I mean, it affects everybody. If you have a spouse or a partner, it affects everybody. And you need to make sure that everybody's on board, and these are decisions that you make together.
Right.
So I would just get real crystal clear. And when you say I want to be connected to the family, that's a good starting point. But what does that mean? And you said if there is a field trip, that I can close my computer and I can go. If I want to go see the grandkids, I can pick my computer up, go see the grandkids, and not have to worry about my business going down.
Right.
And really get granular with this. Like, hey, I'm at the meal table every single night. When I'm working, and when I'm not working, I'm just kind of brainstorming here for you.
Yeah.
So certainly
Yeah.
this is something that only you can do. But really kind of getting crystal clear on what this business is going to do, because this gives you a roadmap, or this gives you guidelines in which, when you're making future decisions, you say, does this move me towards that, or does it move me away from it?
Right.
But without that, we really lose sight of it. And I'm speaking from experience here. So just kind of a little aside right there. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Very much so.
Okay. So is part of your vision is that you give up the 9 to 5 and you're doing this full time, your bookkeeping business?
That is definitely part of my vision. That's something like I need to get on the same page with the family too. But yes, that I would love to take this out of the equation, and that is scary.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I believe that this is the challenge that we want to kind of focus on right now
Sure.
is that. So why don't you kind of tee it up as you expressed to me earlier in the pre-show of what this challenge is, and let's just walk through it.
Sure. So how, the challenge for me is taking that leap and just pulling the security net out from under me, getting out of my daytime job and fully immersing myself in my business and having that drive the lifestyle that I'd like. So I've worked very hard to get where I am, even in the corporate world right now. I make a very comfortable salary, benefits, everything like that. And then also having like the healthcare side covered for dental, things like that. And the security of every single time the paycheck is there, regardless. So taking that all out of the equation, being able to supplement most or all of that income, as well as the warm fuzzy that, hey, everything's good right now.
Does Katie work outside the home?
She does. Actually, recently just changed jobs, but yes, she's in the social work field, which is extremely undervalued, but she does amazing things in that.
Absolutely, absolutely, good for her. All right, and so I think I know the answer to this, but what is Kate when you and Katie talk about this leap?
Yeah.
What are her feelings?
She is very risk averse. So I mean, if it was me making this decision in a vacuum, I would cut the cord. I don't know if I would have cut the cord yet, but it would be very soon that I would cut the cord and just say, let's do it, and I'll make it work, because I have that confidence in my abilities now to do that. But she is very risk averse. When I originally talked to this conversation with her, and she's absolutely right with this, that I said, this is a long-term play for me, not knowing how successful I could be at it and what was all out there, and just being scared at that point. So to her, that's what was in her mindset when I went forward with it. Whereas now, to me, it can be a much shorter window and something that can get much more accelerated and be the right call for us. But it's her stance is, how are we generating all the income you're making now? How does that change our lifestyle? What are the sacrifices that we need to make? Is that negatively impacting our kids' futures? Things like that.
Okay, so in short, she ain't on board yet.
In short, she ain't on board yet, right?
Okay, all right,
good summary.
All right, yeah, there we go. Okay, so she's not on board, which to me, okay, going back to the decision to start this business, she was on board. Okay, great thing. With this decision, she's not on board. So that to me is a telltale sign that it's not the time to do this. But because I believe, and I'm a guy who got divorced, and one of the biggest regrets that I have is not heeding the advice of my ex-spouse when she was right and I was wrong, and looking back hindsight going, damn, if I'd have just listened. I believe that our spouses are there and that they have, you said she's risk averse and you're more risk taking, and it's good to have that counterbalance. It's kind of like talking with Traction. We have the visionary and the integrator. I'm the visionary in the business, and Kelly is the integrator in the business. And if we didn't have both of us, it would be more chaotic than it already is. So just knowing that we had that mile marker where she was aboard, and now we have this mile marker where she's not aboard, I think that one of the things to do is what we already mentioned, is kind of talking about, hey, why would we want to do this? Let's talk about the pros and cons. Let's make a kind of a pros and cons type of list. Why would we want to do this? First of all, what are the pros of this and what are the cons of this? And again, it's instrumental that you work together, not because you just want to get, have peace in the house. You do, but I believe that it's an asset that we tap into when we're talking with our spouse, when we're talking with others, when we're seeing their viewpoint and not just ours. Does that make sense?
It does. And I completely agree with you, but I will say you're definitely not going to help my case when she listens to this.
Well, we can edit this part out. Yeah. No, we got to think about what's the wise thing to do, because right now, if you were to leave your gig, financially, would you be able to make ends meet?
Yes, with some lifestyle changes.
Okay.
If I didn't want to have touch any
You didn't want to
savings
eat.
or anything, yeah, I mean, if ramen, it's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there would have to be some lifestyle changes, but yes, we could figure it out.
Okay. So it's not, I mean, it is about income, but it's not like, hey, if we did that, then we're we're going to be living off credit cards and that, which is never a thing to do. Even though I've done it at certain parts of my life, but I'm far away from that now. So not a wise thing to do. So it's not, it is about money, but it's not about money. It's about a lifestyle change, but it's, more than that. So kind of going back and tapping into both of your brains together and deciding what's the best thing. And I know that we're not making an argument. I think it's the right choice. I just think it's not the right time. But here's the silver lining to it. So, Katie, as you're listening to this, and Jeremy, as we're walking through this, we had that time where Katie was in agreement, where
Yep.
where you started your business,
Yep.
and then here we are now where she is risk averse and it makes her uneasy. She ain't on board with you starting this and doing it full time. So that's a good indicator that we've got some work to do, which
Yeah.
is awesome.
Great.
But let's kind of break this down, like to replace your income of where you are right now with your business. How many more clients do you think that you need?
Ooh, probably 20. If I want to fully replace my income, and I don't think it's completely necessary to get to that level, but I would guess 20.
Okay.
I think.
So you need 25 to 30 routine clients kind of with the pace that you're going.
Right.
Okay. All right. Which getting to 25 clients from where you are now, six regular and 8 total, that's no small feat. And, but right now, in order to get those, we haven't hit that critical mass where you're getting a lot of referrals. That takes time.
Right.
It takes years to build that up to where you're getting consistent referrals, where that's pretty much the only marketing that you have to depend on if you do it right. And most people do it wrong. So going there. So one of the things that I would highly suggest is that you guys talk openly about this.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to, hey, what is this going to do for us? Here's what we want to do. We want to cast a vision together. You and Katie. I don't say we. I'm not part of you and Katie.
Come along for the ride.
Yes, you and Katie want to kind of have this joint vision and joint ownership and buy-in on both parties as to what this is going to do. And here's why. Because there's going to be rough patches between now and then getting to that point from where you are today, just like it's been a rough go at it and struggle. It's the way that it is. It's a good struggle. It's a healthy struggle. But nonetheless, it's a struggle, and it takes time, and it takes sacrifice, and it takes doing things that you don't want to do all the time.
Right.
But putting that out there is to really get nitty gritty with this with Katie and talk openly about this. Now, we're not preamble. She can listen to this and then you do this. This is not about you coercing her to do this now, because that's not what you want to do. That's a recipe for disaster. Ask me how I know. We got cut off there for a minute. I don't know if I said this before, if it's going to get on there, but one of the biggest regrets that I had from my divorce was that I didn't listen to my spouse when I knew that, looking back in hindsight, that I should have. And believe me, she told me that I should have, and she's correct, right? As much as it pains me to say that, but she was. Right. It's totally my fault. So that's one of the things that I think that kind of backing it up, right? Start with why. Really looking at this from a granular level. What's this going to do for our family? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. And you've hit things on the head there, is that, her intentions are good and wanting the best for all of us. So it's really having that deep conversation and mapping out what this looks like. And as you alluded to, she's probably right most of the time. Despite me, pains me to say that too, but yeah, I think that's spot on.
Yeah. So that's kind of the first step, right? Is to really get down to the nitty gritty and then saying, okay, well, this is where we would want to be with it. And here's where we are today. So how do we get from where we are today? Because I think that when you define that the things that you want with your business and you want for her and you want for your family, that's what's going to be what she wants, and probably some additional things as well. And those are good. But then to say, all right, well, we couldn't do that now because, obviously we'd have to make too many financial sacrifices. So if we were able to devise a plan to get us from where we are today to where that needs to be with mile markers in between, and we work that plan, do we both buy into this now?
Right.
To where you're, again saying, all right, this is where we want to get to. Like, what would make Katie feel like, hey, it's like the trapeze net, right? Right now you're going across you're jumping from swing to swing. You haven't fallen, but if you do, there's a net underneath you. And that net in this metaphor is your full-time job and her full-time job. With you taking that leap right now, you're just taking the whole net away. So you better hold on to the swing. And that's not what you want to do, really. So no, we don't want anybody to go splat on the ground. So how do you like that metaphor?
I do like that metaphor.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. And then to really, after you've kind of started with why, and you've looked at where you are today, then you look at what it's going to take to get you to where you want to be. And this is really where it falls on you for the most part with your business. But like walk through scenarios like saying, okay, well, that means you're speaking with Kate that I need 25 clients. And, have you ever seen the little thermometers where they're raising money and you fill in, is that you really kind of make this a fun activity and not something that's onerous. But like, hey, once I get to 20 clients and we were making this much with this business and we were able to figure out how to replace our health insurance, our dental insurance, the other benefits that we have, would you feel comfortable at that point with us taking this leap? Yeah, I would. Okay, great. Then that's where you want to be. You want to get to the point where you both feel comfortable with this decision.
Yeah, agreed. The struggle I have with that too is I don't know if I have the capacity to get to that level with the time I have available right now. But I don't know. I don't know. It's not a fact either. I just know it'll be difficult. But what isn't?
Right. Absolutely. And I was actually going to mention that because right now you may be able to take on what 2 or 3 more clients without going into the insane asylum.
Right.
Okay.
And that's probably the inevitable ending place, regardless. But
well, let's hopefully save that because I'll be right beside you. Yeah,
that's right.
Mine will be padded though, so
yeah.
So yeah, there is that capacity thing, but I want to talk about that here in just a second. But I think that's the first thing is to start with why, understand your reality. This sounds very similar.
Yeah.
Understand where it is that you want to be, and then make a plan, and then find out where that jumping off point is. Okay. And once you do that, then you say, okay, let's make this fun. Let's put something on the refrigerator. If you have a board at home or you have something like that, let's make a visual representation of this so that we're always seeing, hey, daddy needs to get to 20 clients. And that means that he can take me to the school bus and be on every field trip and all that. Get the kids involved, Katie involved, and really that you see this visually. And it's another way in which to motivate yourself when you don't want to be doing the things that you need to do. Because you're saying, hey, this short-term sacrifice is for this lifetime of benefit for me and my family. Right. So do you think that that's something that you and Katie could do and make it fun and not like hitting each other over the head with clubs?
Yeah, I think it is. She has an amazing skill set too, but one thing she hates is talking about like numbers and that piece of thing. So I think if I can make it fun for her that way with embracing the number crunching, I think it'll be a more open conversation, and definitely the chances for success go up significantly.
Absolutely. And I don't think you really have to talk about numbers that much. Just like what would it like she might just say, I just want your income to be what you have now. It's the same amount of income here. Because you're not just replacing that. So you have your current income, right? Then you would talk about, okay, well, now I got to take and make what I'm making over here on top of it. So it may still take a slight step back when you attain those clients. I don't know what numbers there are, but I think for her, it's probably more of the feeling, right? Knowing that this is my this is my safety net that's underneath us. And what does that mean? So anyway, just something to noodle on there. But that's a conversation that I would have, putting all my cards on the table, listening, active listening, taking advice, seeing it as a different pair of eyes in which you should definitely look through. And I think that coming up with this plan will kind of take the I don't know what the fuel off the fire, right? That's the angst.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree.
So that's one part of it. Let's talk about the practical side. So after she goes, yeah, do that. Now you're going to be like, oh, crap.
Oh, crap.
Well, how do I do that? Yeah.
Right.
So let's dive into that a little bit. So do you have anybody else that works with you right now?
So, very recently, I have a friend that I brought into the business as a contractor to help me out, who has been doing very well. I'm very impressed with how much she's embraced this. And I just had a hard conversation with her. She's been with me about 3 months because I realized I wouldn't be able to get through January onboarding a couple of new clients without some help. But just had a conversation with her. If it's something that she likes that much to go forward with, I'm hoping that I can get her to sign up for the BBL class and get that training too, because I know she's an amazingly smart person, and I think she'll do really well at this, but needs the flexibility that program offers.
So this would be something that she would start her own business too?
That is a possibility. I think she doesn't think that's a possibility at this point, but I more want her to have the skill set that's trained in there to have there for me. Correct.
Yeah. Well, and this is a gratuitous way for me to promote Bookkeeper Elite, but as a member of Bookkeeper Elite, you have access to for her for free, or included. So make sure we can talk about that offline, but that's something that she does have access to as a member of Bookkeeper Elite. So see what everybody else is missing out on without being a Bookkeeper Elite. No, but in all seriousness, so she works with you. Does she have bandwidth? I hate using bandwidth. I don't know why I just said that. Does she have capacity? Does she have time to do more work?
She does, yeah. And we talked about that. I said, what's in a reasonable, talked about a minimum if we're going to commit and a maximum and an ideal state. So yeah, she does have the ability to do more and spend more time in it. And I think that's something she really wants to do too.
Okay. One saying that I love is what got us here ain't going to get us there. Meaning is that what has gotten you to this point with 8 clients, 6 routine, and where you need to get with 25 to 30, you can't be underneath the same paradigm. We always talk about switching from planets. You're going from little biz here to small biz. And the skill set that you need there as the owner is much different than it is on little biz. And when I say it's much different, because you're now playing the puppeteer and you're not being the puppet. You are more focused on the processes and the people than you are actually doing the work. You're working on your business and not in your business. So the practical side of this, once you've got a buy-in with Katie and your boys, and once you've got a plan in place, an overall plan that really impacts your family, now you're coming over here to this side and saying, well, how in the hell am I going to get this done?
Right. And
so it does predicate itself while you're in this transition period. And the great thing about this, though, Jeremy, is that you actually have like a core reason to do this. Like this is going to be absolutely necessary for you to fulfill that plan that you guys come up with. I know that because unless you want to get on cocaine and stay up, all night long, every day, and you're going to end up in the ER.
Anything's on the table right now, Ben.
Yeah. Well, that literally would be on the table. Yeah. Well, you've been watching Narcos.
Yeah, right.
No, but in all seriousness, you may be able to take on a couple more, but you're going to be miserable. So it's going to be. And the great thing about it is that when you arrive, you've built this business that you're not going to have to work 40 hours a week in, most likely. Now, that's a tall order, and there's a lot of work between now and then. But really, it comes down to people and process. And good thing that you're coming in a week and a half to a little event that we're having that's all about OPP, outstanding processes and people. And so I'll let that speak for itself in terms of like how you do that. But the big key takeaway for you is that if you want to do this, and if you are going to do this, which we have to start speaking in that positive voice, then it's going to be, hey, other people are going to have to do a lot of the work. You have to have processes that are defined and refined, and it can't just be you in it. And I think that on the other side of that, though, you're going to have a business and a life that you love. Not that you don't love your life now, but
Right.
it's going to create a business that works for you and generates the life that you want, and doesn't make sure, you don't build your life around your business. You build your business around your life.
Right. Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. And it's going to be a challenge. I thought coming in today, thinking about we are going to have this conversation, the Beatles song "A Day of a Life" came on,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how they like there's just so many different sections of that song where it's like, oh, it's all flowing, and then it goes to the crazy part where all the instruments just go crazy, and then it goes a bunch faster, and that's really my life right now
Yeah.
in a nutshell. And taking it to where you're saying now is really would be somewhat of not easy street, but a welcomed relaxation or a welcome step from where I am now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, but it does take work. It does
Right.
take
Oh yeah.
intentionality. That's the big thing right there. But I really think that this is a huge advantage, because if you are already like dedicated to this full time and you had all the time in the world, whatever that means,
Right.
you wouldn't have this, like, you should have people and processes clearly defined, but you could get away without having it, although that you eventually would find yourself needing to do that. But here, in order to get that which you achieve, you have to do this.
Right.
Either that
And
or become a coke addict.
that's right. And that was part of, hopefully to my benefit, part of the conversation I had with the nice lady that I brought on, is that, that when I'm teaching you these things, expectation is document them and let's get some procedures in place. And so I hope that a lot of that has already got wheels in motions. And then, as we talked about with the elite side of things, every time now I'm talking about something else, I'm recording it and we're talking through it, so we'll get some good notes together. So hopefully I'm down that path already, but like you said, a lot of work to do to get to a self-sustaining machine or a more succinct machine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then at that point, you can say, well, hey, now I want to have 100 clients. And it just takes turning that up. But really start thinking, how do I take myself out of the business from a day-to-day operations? How do I do the things that I love, which to you is the face-to-face presentation, the advice that you're getting, the interaction, although it wears you out like it does me, it at the same time energizes you and you feel like you're in your element.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
And we will be diving into the OPP. And so, regardless of when you're listening to this, if you go to ilovebookkeeping.com, you can find out more about all of our courses, as well as in the intensives and things like that we have that are coming up or have been recorded. Again, another shameless plug there. But I want to make sure that we kind of close the loop on this and that you understand clearly. So let's talk about your action items as a result of this conversation today. Tell
Sure.
me what's your first action item here?
Is, I think, prepping for the hard conversation with Katie. I think, as with anything else, I need to have a good plan in place that to exactly know what number of clients it would be, the time to take it there, the time involved on my end to sustain it, and then also like a numbers game on our income, on how that would impact our current financial situation, and then have that conversation that we get on the same page.
Okay. One
That
thing I
fair?
would just challenge you on there
Yeah.
is, don't look at this as like, it kind of sounded like, oh no, dread, I got to do this. Like, just like we talk about in money guides, when we
Yeah.
have that stack party and pop party and all that stuff, like go into this with an activity. Let's have date night and talk about this stuff. Let's put a fun element around it. And let's say that, hey, we are very smart together. We are very good together. This is what it's going to do for our family. Now let's talk about how we make it reality and also make you have peace of mind. Both of you have peace of mind, so
Right.
that there is angels singing in the household in harmony.
Yeah. I mean, if I get cupcakes involved, I'm probably get right away ahead of the game.
There you go, man. Whatever it takes. Whatever it
Right. No,
takes. No, but
good
I
point.
think so. All right. So that's step one, and then after that, what's step two?
I think in my mind, it's planning on how to get there. There has been a lot of, again, I'll say your advice that I haven't been able to instill yet. But like getting specific around a niche, being able to scale things, all that's been something that I have not spent near enough time that I need to.
Okay. So it's just refining.
Right. Yeah. Getting that process down, being able to find better target markets. Cause like I said, I'm still in that stage where I'm kind of wooing everybody and probably taking on some work that I shouldn't, though I think it will pan out in the long run. It is not something that will be easily taken off my plate unless it's somebody of a pretty high caliber.
Gotcha. Okay. Just rest assured, I know that misery loves company. I have so many things that I know I need to do. I have a book or I have a room full of books and courses and things that I'm going to get to that I know I need to be doing. Don't look at it as like, hey, beating yourself up. Look at this as a journey and enjoying that. This is a journey, right? This is one of the beautiful things that people don't understand about being a business owner is that once you meet one challenge, once you overcome that, once you seize one opportunity, there's others that are right behind it. And that's not negative. That's very positive because it's not the status quo.
Right.
So, well, I can't wait to share with you in a couple of weeks on processes and people.
Yeah.
And start putting some. So I hope that you've had this conversation with Katie by that time. If not, then you can't get in the doors.
Oh man!
Yeah,
all right, that's a strict timeline.
Got it, man. Hey, I'm giving you an incentive.
I can't use the show here to kind of like ease into it. Like
I can give you I'll give you the recording early. Yeah,
all right,
exactly. I'll give you the recording early. So,
all right.
Oh man, well, Jeremy, it has been a pleasure to visit with you. I hope this was worth your time.
Yeah, it totally was. I always thank you very much for your insight on things and helping us all worker bees to get better. Very much appreciated.
Well, I always speak from a place of, hey, I screwed everything up and then slowly figured out how to do one thing right and then the next thing. And again, it kind of goes back to my earlier comment about this being a journey. So Jeremy Van Groll, thank you so much. And by the way, if you want to find out more about Jeremy, you can go to eHarmony, and he is on no, I'm just kidding. It's beside the point bookkeeping.com. Is that correct?
Yep, just besidethepointinc.com.
Besidethepointinc.com. You can find out more about Jeremy there and how he works. And it's a great website. So good job to you there.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for being with me, Jeremy Van Groll.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
Now, hey, if you'd like to hear more great conversations like the one that we just had here today with Jeremy, then I want you to head on over to ilovebookkeeping.com. There, you're going to find all of the shows that we have, and we have show notes that are on there, and we got some other goodies that are there. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the I Love Bookkeeping show, just like Jeremy was today, there is a Be a Guest tab on that same website at ilovebookkeeping.com. You go there, fill out a short application, and we'll take a look at it and then be in communication with you. And then finally, if you want to hear more about the courses, like we talked about Bookkeeper Elite, we talked about Bookkeeper Business Launch, as well as Money Guides a little bit, please go to ilovebookkeeping.com and look at the courses tab. I want to thank you for listening to the I Love Bookkeeping show. I want to thank you most of all for being a great bookkeeping professional. Have a great rest of your day. Listen, if you would like to hear more great conversations just like today's, then I want you to head on over to ilovebookkeeping.com. There, you're going to find all of the shows, the notes, and some other great goodies that we have for you there. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the I Love Bookkeeping show, there is a link that says Be a Guest. Go in there and we'll walk you through the process of getting on the show. And finally, to discover more about our programs, go to the courses page on the ilovebookkeeping.com site. There you have it, another great episode of I Love Bookkeeping. Thank you for being a proud listener, and thank you for being a bookkeeping professional. Enjoy the rest of your week.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life?